Here is some real tactical advice on how to get your listings on the first page of Airbnb, VRBO, bookings.com, etc. I got my revenue manager here, Cody. He's going to dive in. He's going to show us what he does to get listings ranked as high as possible. So let's dive in.
Yeah, before we dive in, let me just quickly tell you, if you want to maximize revenue, you need to maximize listing optimization first. So pay attention and take some notes. Here we go. All right, so the first thing I do when it comes to listing optimization, we have about 50 different listings that we manage. Some of them are essentially combined listings. So I'll dive into that here in a second. But if you need to get a scorecard, this is our scorecard that we have for Phoebe. So the first thing you're going to see here, you're going to see the review count and the scorecard. This is going to provide more of an explanation as to the rankings right here. Now over here, this is pulled every Monday from the software that we use that I really think is just easy and friendly is RankBreeze. What I'm trying to identify is what's working and what's not working. So the first thing is I'm going into RankBreeze, and I always filter this worst to best. So we got 3 pages of properties right here. And I'm taking note of where all these pages or all these listings are visible on what page. This is the average page ranking on Airbnb. And I'm writing this down. I'm taking all this, it's manual entry, but I'm putting it all into here so I can have this kind of broader portfolio look. From here, I need to identify, is there an action required? So I'm looking at really any property that I feel needs a helping hand, a touch, a lever to be pulled so that it can be optimized better. All right, so now I have them marked. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of reference my checklist over here. So as you can see, everything over here is really a checklist. It's yes or no. It doesn't require any updating. It's either you have it or you don't have it. Just throw as much information at them as possible to get them to go down to the space description, to get them to actually click and look through all of your individual photos. So in each step of the funnel, the stage that you're at is fighting to get the guest to the next stage.
Could you talk about some things that you've done and tried and what's worked with regards to improving all the individual parts of the funnel that RankBreeze tracks?
Yeah, so the overall goal, and I can kind of take a step back, the overall goal is maximum revenue. We can all agree on that. We want the property to make as much money as possible. The 2 ways that you're going to get there is by having better occupancy on a nightly rate. The only way to have better occupancy is going to be through your pricing strategy and your visibility.
What are some things you can do to increase impressions or first page impressions, if you will, or impressions in general?
Yeah, so that's going to come back to kind of the spreadsheet. So essentially everything on here that I have, plus there's a couple more we talked about, cleaning fees, which we talked about previously in a video. But every subtitle that you see on here, from the title, listing summary, listing space, cover photo, amenity photos, new amenities, introducing new amenities to a property is very powerful. Getting your property wish listed, having your property set with specific Airbnb categories that it applies to. All these things are, all the ones that I just mentioned, are ones that can be consistently added to or refreshed, redone, re-optimized. And that's why these all have yes or no's plus dates attached to it. We want to make sure that our properties are the first properties that any potential guest sees when our specific listing is inside their guest count in the market they're searching.
Got it. Have you ever tried to do to increase conversion rate itself? I.e., if 9,000 people see it and you have a 1% conversion rate versus 3,000 people see it and you have a 5% conversion rate, right? Like you would get more bookings in that scenario where you have lower impressions. Have you done any types of tests or tried to increase conversion rate itself?
Yep, absolutely. So I would say, and speaking from 2025, for me, is all about dialing it back a little bit, taking kind of the best of both worlds, creating kind of an industry-leading clean look to just the overall view of our profile. And the goal of that is to ultimately create that professional standard that is going to drive conversions at the end of the day.
So what specific things have you done to transition to a better look, a better listing look?
Whatever is the guest's number one concern, whether it's the pool, the backyard space for their family, the entertainment, anything like that, or maybe it actually is the bed count, the bed dynamic, so that they can appease their larger group or their multiple families. They need to really see that bed layout. We want to make it as easy as possible for them to get to their number one concern.
One thing that we started doing recently, I feel like, is Matterport on new listings that we're throwing up. And I know we're early in that, doing that. Are there any results in yet, or are we still waiting to see?
No results in yet. Come back to me in 6 months and I'll tell you one way or the other. Looking at IntelliHost blogs, RankBreeze blogs, that is one of the, like a floor plan, a video walkthrough if it's possible. If you can do kind of like a Google Maps reference that shows, where the house is located to all these major geographical locations. That's another one that's kind of being pushed to the side right now, but we'll introduce it, probably towards the end of this year or next year. Now, listing access, listing interaction, and listing notes are, other verbiage sections that you get inside Airbnb. So it's important to have those filled out with their intended purposes. Location description. That one's a little bit harder for the guest to find. I would say probably 8 out of 10 guests won't ever find or see the location description, just because you have to go down to, when you're on the listing page, you go down to the map area, you click on the map, and then there's a little subtitle over here where you can click on location description. So what I like to use location description for is geographical and keyword heavy opportunity. It's not gonna take up your listing page too much because it's really hard for the guest to find. So you can blast it, you kind of have it as a form of like metadata inside your listing. So use that for keywords. Where you can, show exact location. This is another lever that you can pull. Length of stay discounts, you want to have a weekly and a monthly length of stay. You also want to have an early bird discount. Now, this is something that we can talk more about when we talk, kind of like revenue strategy. But if any guest ever looks or tries to book with us, there is always, always, always some form of a discount that's offered 100% of the time. It doesn't matter if they're booking a year out, 6 months out, a week out, tomorrow. It doesn't matter. There is always that visual marketing perception that we give to a guest where they are always getting the discount. And in return, we have our pricing structure built in to accommodate that. But we're able to, still book for exactly what we want to book for, but the guest is seeing a discount.
It reminds me of that comic that like recurs in every newspaper like once a year at least, where it's like someone's like, I couldn't sell this product for $2, so I sold it for $200 and put a 50% off sign next to it.
That's exactly it. So just kind of finishing this up here. House rules, it's important for you to have it. It's going to help with review disputes as well too. If your guests violate your house rules and they leave you a poor review, now you actually have some more supporting evidence and documentation to dispute that review. And then accessible features. This is one that like Airbnb categories over here, it's manually reviewed by Airbnb. It is powerful because, when the main way that a guest can search is they're going to search by guest count, location, and dates of their stay. That's their first 3 options, what they click on before they even start a search. When you go into filters, the next one you can appease to is something that's, accessible features. That's when you can get in kind of the nitty gritty where they're looking for specific bedroom counts or bed counts, bathroom counts, specific, pool or no pool, anything like that. So accessible features, it is part of kind of like that secondary step to guest filters when they're searching.
Cool, man. I think that's some good stuff. I got to hop to the meeting. So you got like a hot 1 minute if you got anything else important you want to show us.
My important takeaway that I want everybody, I can provide you with kind of a blank template for this. You can, throw it out on the YouTube channel to a Google Doc and download it. It's important to track it. It's important to know, time moves fast sometimes. And I feel like I literally just updated these listing summaries yesterday, but looking at the date right here, this tells me that I did it over 6 weeks ago. So it's important to track it where you can put a timestamp on it, and then make sure you're checking all the boxes, because you're gonna feel like shit if you've been struggling for 6 months and then you come to find out that you haven't been checking all the boxes or pulling all the levers that you could have been. So if you wanna maximize revenue, maximize optimization first.